Hi, everybody. Chris Wager. And I had to stop what I was doing. I was kind of involved in creating some new content. Usually, my content contains, most of the current day's events and what's happening, and today's no different. I had to stop and share this special report with you from Brett Baer, okay? And let me set this clip up that it is the Biden at a rally supporting health care for illegal immigrants and how we're damn obligated to do it. Okay? We have people defecating on the streets. We have thousands upon thousands of children in the adoption chain and in, you know, that whole mess. And they're gone. Most of them they can't find, or a percentage of them are dead. That's the foster care. Children living on the street in every major city in America. And this presidential candidate is worried about people that shouldn't even be here. You know, I grew up in the bowels of poverty. Okay? I know what it's like to go to bed hungry and cold. The house we were forced to live in did not have running water. It didn't have indoor plumbing. And I think of these children who are left on the streets to starve, to be raped, God knows what else, sold. And we got this presidential candidate who's running on giving our money to help those who shouldn't be here. And I'm sorry that I don't have the sympathy, okay, for these children that are being recycled by these people to exploit a loophole in our system to allow them to come in here. I'm sorry, I just can't have the sympathy. You know, I only have so much to go around, and I'm afraid all my sympathy goes to the children that are living on our streets. They didn't ask to be born. But are here, and their childhood is one of cold, frightened, and starving. How about we start there? They never crossed his fucking mind. Okay. I set this clip up. Let's watch.
Former Vice President Joe Biden is taking a big step to the left tonight. Former Vice President, who is considered one of the more centrist members of the Democratic presidential primary field, is now calling for a controversial new entitlement. Correspondent Peter Ducey has details.
Yeah, entitlement.
Joe Biden believes the U.S. should be the land of the free. Health care for undocumented immigrants.
Anyone who is in a situation where they need our health system, regardless of whether they're documented or undocumented, we have an obligation to keep them in.
That's the most noteworthy thing he's said about health care since. A confident Biden is also now forecasting when contenders stuck in single digits will start dropping out.
Come out of our island in 15% of the caucus. So it's stuff going to work its way through relatively quickly.
Biden says the time for detailed discussion about policy will be next month's first debate, but
yeah, let's talk about your son.
Doesn't want to wait. She's on the cover of Time magazine next to a headline that's an ode to her.
Yeah, Pocahontas.
Time
this is another liberal
her
freaking
campaign
nut job.
Say is built on the conviction that voters want substance, not theatrics, and will throw in for the candidate who puts
don't
forth
worry about her
serious
lying
ideas
to get
to
her
create
position.
Change. President Trump believes his early attacks on Warren knocked her out of contention. He's got his eye now on Biden, Bernie, and
boot edge. Boot edge. They say edge.
Mayor Pete might be surging in the States, but President Trump argues he'd stumble on the world stage.
Representing us against President
He
Xi
stumbled
of China.
on the
That'll
world stage by ass.
That'll be great. I want to be in that room. I want to watch that one.
He hasn't even began to talk about
Florida because he can do
Betos.
something Democrats can't do till next year. Their priority is the primary, while the president can use data his team has been collecting since 2016 to focus on the general election already. Brett?
Peter.
There you have it. So, which base are they playing to? Are they playing to the left-wing nutjob base? Are they playing to the base that can't understand them because they don't speak the language? Or are they playing to the left-wing base that helps those who can't understand? Well, we know they don't have the economy to run on. We know the Democrats don't have jobs to run on. Okay? Those are two very, very, very big things that leave them weak. And now with the Durham investigation on their heels going into this, I don't care how many of these candidates that they have. It doesn't look good for any of them. And heads will roll. This investigator, Durham, is a pit bull. And I think it's about damn time that we find out the truth for once. This will be an inconvenient truth for the Democratic Party. Not just now, but 5 years down the road. As I've been saying, the more desperate they become, the more radical steps they take, the further they are pushing themselves away from winning the election. You see, you don't have to be the sanest man in the room. You just have to look sane compared to everyone else. And that's where Trump is. They're going to push and push, okay, until they make him a martyr. And if they have not already done that, and martyrism is the last place they wanted Trump to be. Okay, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll have something else for you just a little bit later. My name's Chris Wager. You can find me on Facebook and SoundCloud. I have a podcast that I had just did, and I'm just kind of getting my YouTube platform set up and getting it going, and just the beginning of being able to bring you important content. I don't know if you watched earlier, I shared a video of all the Texans, Democratic Texans, who are now supporting the wall and Donald Trump. And this will blow your mind. The way I learned about it was through a foreign news television site, because I had not heard this anywhere on our media. Euronews, or I believe it was. No, our media isn't biased, right? You know, I've said this before and I'm going to say it right now, okay? The moment, because I have worked as a journalist for the last 10 years, okay? Posting features and news stories on the net. And the moment you put yourself either in the story or pick a side, you are no longer a journalist. The only way that you can be considered a respectable journalist, no matter how much you might disagree, you have to show both sides equally. That's your job. And what has happened is that our news medias, from print to cable, local, national, have all become part of the Democratic propaganda machine. You know, the joke is that CNN stands for the Clinton News Network. You know, I can't bring myself to watch it because of the blatant bias. If they're not willing, in spite of how they feel about the president, willing to announce successes for the country, then I don't see whether they're worth my time. And I have lost so much respect for the New York Times. I got caught up in an argument with one of the reporters for the Times, you know, and I wasn't met with any intellectual discussion, okay, to have a civil debate back and forth. I have yet to find that among any liberals I've talked to. But anyway, the Times reporter, when he couldn't convince me of his point, became hostile. And, you know, that is the paradigm for all the liberals that I've ran into, either in the media, okay, the Southern Poverty Law Office. Let me share this with you, okay? One of their chief writers, and I'm not going to mention his name, okay, for their magazine, okay, I was in a personal phone call with him, and I had let it slip or mentioned Glenn Beck in the phone call. All right, I don't have anything to do with Glenn or his show. I've met a couple of people that work for Glenn, and it's great. They're really nice people, but I don't have anything to do with Glenn personally. Okay, but his name got brought up. And then, okay, after that, I think it was a couple days after that, okay, I sat in on a press conference they were having. It was me and, who else? NBC, I think, and CBS and some other news organizations were sitting in on this. And the chief writer for whom I had spoken to about Glenn Beck had, mind you, this has absolutely nothing to do with the press conference, brought up Glenn to me as if throwing out my association so that the other news agencies who happened to be on the call somehow would immediately form an opinion about me because of my presumed association. It was ridiculous. He threw it out there as if he was weaponizing Glenn's name. I haven't really ever told that story. I had almost forgotten about it. So, yeah, that was just, between the New York Times reporter and the Southern Poverty Law Office news conference. Yeah, those are just a couple of my run-ins with the left-wing media. I would love to talk to somebody over at Media Matters. Yep. Okay, guys, I really am stepping off this time. Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it. Remember, I'm trying to get a channel started here, and I have some podcasts. They're going to be on iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and of course, Facebook. So I want to say thank you, and thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll be able to find some real intriguing, more content to bring you that is not being covered by the national media. And you guys can decide for yourself. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you, guys.